All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Green White Checker TV. Tonight we have the Dark Horse Area 51 series here tonight at the Charlotte Motor Speedway, not the Roval. We're at the 1.5 mile oval here tonight. Drivers putting out their qualifying laps for tonight's event. And this is, as I said, we've done one 1.5 miler at Atlanta. It was pretty wild, pretty exciting, probably a little bit terrifying for drivers. And it was Craig Forsyth able to get the win on that one. And he is also our current points leader by 4 points over Matt Wagner. And then it's a pretty big gap to third, 36 over Teed, 46 over Dan Moreira, 48 over Gary Laverne, our top 5 in the points. We do have some drivers unfortunately not here tonight, including Dan Moreira and Gary Laverne. So I'd say things might shake up a little bit, but it also does not account for a drop week as of yet. So that will also come into play. So right now that's where we're at. This is going to be race number 7 of our 12 race season. So we have tonight, next week at Michigan. Then we'll actually have an off week due to lack of broadcaster availability. But then from July 29th on, we will run the final 4 races out to crown our Season 2 champion. So right now, like I said, drivers putting their qualifying laps. Pulling up some of the info for tonight. Sounds like fuel mileage will be in the low 40s. I heard some drivers might be able to try to pull off that 2-stopper. So definitely will be some strategy involved there if we go green start to finish. One fast pair available for all these drivers also. And then from there, just pretty much will be kind of, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be maybe a little bit of a plate race strategy race. But like I said, we've seen it at Atlanta, and it's going to be very similar here tonight. That trial, I think, is going to be definitely, to me, one place to watch because it feels very narrow very quickly. So Andrew Wood and I should say, will be calling the shots here tonight. So he may be back ready. He's going to step away for a second and make sure he is all good to go. So
I am here, yes.
Yeah, so I don't know, Andrew. Like I said, we've done Atlanta. This is a very similar track, not quite the same as Atlanta, just because that's kind of been configured to almost a super speedway style track. But I don't know, this track I think it's gonna be exciting, and it's gonna be a little wild, I think, for these drivers tonight.
Yeah, the Charlotte evening races are always a little bit more interesting for the fact that cooler track. We have a track temperature of around, I'd say, what do we got, around like 85, 90 degrees Fahrenheit. So regardless, the nighttime racing is definitely some of the best racing you could see. It might be a pack race for at least the first few races, something that we've seen in previous races this season. But I think that it might be a little bit packish to start and then kind of fall off a little bit. But I could be totally wrong, and it could be too wide racing around the whole way. But the way these cars race with all these aerodynamic situations, it might just kind of thin out in such a way that we're not really expecting it to be that way. But I did want to mention that you were talking about the points there. Craig Forsyth is definitely having quite a season right now. He is able to kind of tame Matt Wagner a little bit. Matt's been a little bit aggressive in some races, but in the other races he's been a little bit more methodic. So I'm not really sure what kind of Matt Wagner we're going to see tonight. But I know he likes to be at the top of the championship standing, so I think that might be a factor as well in how he races. And I did notice that Gary Laverne joined last second, and he is actually qualified. So that's another one in the top 5 that's joining us tonight.
Yeah, so now it's going to be good to see. And yeah, so for the grid here tonight, though, Charles Teed, our winner 2 weeks ago, so he's going to put it on pole here tonight. Right next to him, you mentioned Craig Forsyth going to start second. Then you got Eric Peterson, Jari Brupacher. I mean, right now the top 4 you have right there within 23 thousandths of a second, apologies. Matt Wagner, say a whopping 28 thousandths back in 5th. Then you got, like you mentioned, Gary Laverne there. Seth Groover, switching gears here tonight, going from the super speedway over to the open wheelers. So glad to have Seth over. Jeff Heisong there in 8th. Casey Putski is in 9th. Quabi Brooks making an appearance tonight in 10th. Jim Brooks, 11th. Iker Pagetto in the 09. And so he made sure to let us know he's going to be in the Krispy Kreme liveried car, so I'll have to keep an eye out for that one. I haven't dinner yet, so that's probably a bad idea for me to pay too much attention to it. And then I don't see, it looks like actually it might be 12 drivers. I don't see Brennan Briggs on the grid, so it might be these 12 here this evening as we start to get our formation lap underway.
So one thing I wanted to mention from our last outing there in Milwaukee, that Casey Pahutsky started towards the back, and next thing you knew, you saw him teaching drivers how to make the outside line work. So let's keep an eye on him as well, because he's in a situation where the qualifying wasn't so great, but he may find some line that works, and that was so exciting to watch and really set up for something that was spectacular for that Milwaukee outing.
Yeah, that was a very, very exciting race. And yeah, it will be interesting. Also, you did notice the 50 of Charles Teed, even though he got poles rolling to the back there. That's due to, unfortunately, the contact he had with one of our drivers last week in that race when they were battling for that top spot with he and Dan Morera. So I'll say that winds up being kind of the penalty for that is the end of longest line for him. So that's actually going to promote Eric Peterson to the front row in the 36 car. Of course, the initial start, though, here is always on the green flag. So not too big of a difference for Craig. Obviously, just different car underneath him, but two drivers, obviously, between Eric and Charles he's very familiar with. So, but yeah, so 125 laps, low 40s on the fuel number. Again, I think they need to make sure they can get to about 42. That'll be their magic number to try to two-stop this thing if we go green to the end. But, of course, that's going to be probably easier said than done with just as intense as this race I feel like is going to be. As we wait for that green flag, it is out, and we are down and away, and already there you see that outside line there. I think it was Jari Brubacher all over the gearbox of Craig Forsyth.
So one of the things you have to keep in mind here is the cold tires going into turn 3, that the cars might wash up the track a little bit, and Charlotte is known for that turn 4 appearance of that wall right there on the outside. So these guys have to really be careful and make sure they don't go too wide here, but it looks like everyone's kind of tucked it low, and lap 1 is complete.
Yeah, so far a clean start, but man, I mean, again, you talk about pack racing, these guys are so packed onto each other right now. I mean, and that's the thing is, if something happens, it's going to happen in a hurry. So actually, I'll see if I can pull up our speeds here that these cars are going to be having on them right now. You see Craig Forsyth here, he's up on the top side, so he's going a little slower, but I think I saw minimum speed there of 205. And then now as he goes down the straight here is up to 218, 219, just touches 220 before they enter turn number 1 there. And as I that's probably Craig fuel saving, if anything, I feel like. Whereas we'll watch Eric Peterson here, he's got all the clean air. And say same thing, you'll see him probably get right around that 220 mark as Yari's going to work the outside. But look there, though, he's only dropping to 213 with that clean air. So that's what that's going to mean here is just not a lot of fall off on pace through the turns. Because, I mean, these guys are definitely, if you got clean air, you're probably foot to the floor. But I think it's where we talked about before, Andrew, just finding the balance, be it clean air, be it dirty air. As Yari's going to cut to the bottom here. Just finding that balance that you want to have in these cars to feel comfortable going the full distance here.
You have to watch that turn 4 wall there, Gael, because Craig almost touched it last lap. A couple cars got a little loose off there, so the settings inside the car are setting it up in such a way where the cars are getting a little bit loose and slap happy on the exit. I wouldn't be surprised if we see one of these cars at some point in the stint take a ride through the grass. So similar to our Auto Club Speedway wall cam there in turn 2, I think we're going to see something similar here in turn 4 as these cars just wash up the track and try their best and pray they don't touch that outside wall.
Well, I mean, you say you brought up, let's go ahead and pull up. We'll pull up our awesome static cams from Whiplash SimCams, and you'll see here's that exit off too, like you just talked about. And I say this time they heard us, so that everybody's well behaved. There's Yari a little moment there, just down the back even.
Yeah, turn 4 is your big issue corner because the whole track drops off from the bottom there, and the cars get very loose. Jim Brooks has actually had a little bit of a moment there out of turn 4. So these cars every lap are just hoping and praying to make it through turn 4 going down into the quad oval.
Yeah, I saw a little puff of smoke there. Anyone looks like everybody's good to go still. But yeah, right now it's just this almost looks like a where do you go at this point. We talk about some of the climbers right now. Jari Brubacher, he's up 3 spots from his gridding position. A little further back, Casey Pahutsky, he is up 3 spots there in that number 3. Jim Brooks up 4 right behind him in 7th. So right now those are the highest climbers at the moment. As I say, again, you see these drivers. I think it's like we talked about at Atlanta, is just probably still, even though this is a very fast track, probably still trying to find some clean air because I feel like there's still probably a fair bit of aero wash. But I think this is going to be more than, anything here, probably a strategy race. But yeah, I think the Tri-Oval too, to me, is going to be a place to watch because you want to give room if you're on the bottom lane, But when you do that, you're risking touching the grass on the infield. So yeah. But man, Gary Laverne, so we just talked about him just gaining a spot or two. He's up now 5 spots, vying for the lead.
I'm definitely seeing this turn more into a pack race the longer we go, and I think that's just because Yari is really hugging that bottom white line there, and it's not seeming to work out in terms of keeping the lead here, because as you see, Gary has reached the top spot there, and I think he's just pinching Yari too much down on the lower line there to a point where he can't hold it. He's washing up the track a little bit, but that outside line is starting to work. You see Charles Teed is mixing it up right here from his rear grid start there. I think he's going to eventually find his way up to the front, especially if you see some of the Craig Forsyths out there and other drivers that want to save fuel and try to make this stint last a little longer.
Yeah, and then, like you said, if we stay green, then the strategy really comes into play. How hard do you want to push? Do you want to save a little bit of fuel? I mean, or do you want to save the most fuel and just go the longest of anybody? Oh, there's one. That is Iker Paghetto, big hit to the inside wall. Got loose, like you said, just right out of 2. Right out of 4, I'm sorry.
Yeah, like I said, after driving the track for many times, you can always go into turn 3 expecting you're good, and then all of a sudden that turn 4 wall just appears. It just shows up last second, and whereas you thought you made the corner, you have to give a little bit of a lift to make it, or you just try and push it and wheel it as much as you can and hope that the rear spins the back of the car out a little bit.
Yeah, and so unfortunately with him being in the back of the field there, and also, of course, spinning down to the bottom, no caution from iRacing there, so this will stay under green. He's almost made it back to pit road, so it looks like we will be able to stay under green as long as he can make it safely pit road, which he has. So right now he is down already 1 lap with that all being said and done. Probably will be at least 2, if not even possibly 3 by the time he gets back in and out of pit road. That'll be, of course, unfortunately, his fast repair there as well. But again, there's still a lot of time to go, and this is where I think as well, if you're that 09 car, once you get your fix, you get back out there, just run as long as you can. Just see if maybe you can do something where if a caution comes out during that pit cycle, you can get at least one of those 2 laps back. If not, I think maybe 3. I think he's officially down. But yeah, and then just he'd also at the moment be the only car a lap or more down. So I think, like I said, he still has an opportunity to recover from this as we're still very early.
You can see that the cars are starting to migrate to the top of the track little by little, except for our leader that's trying to take that optimal line. Gary Laverne is he had a little bit of a challenge from Yari that lap, but it seems that the top line is the line that's going to work mostly in 3 and 4, and you get a little bit of it in 1 and 2 as well, but you get a bigger radius, you get much more use of that right rear tire going in through turn 3 and 4, and that's going to propel you around once that right front starts to die a bit. So as you can see, the first place, 4th place down the low line, but everyone's starting to slowly migrate their way up top as Craig has gotten very close to that turn 4 wall for several laps now, and I believe he touched it one time, nothing that's very damaging to the car, but I don't think Craig is fuel saving right now as our usual fuel save situation that we talk about.
No, I think that car's just edgy right now for Craig. I think he's where he is just due to lack of comfort really behind the wheel. Hasn't probably found the right adjustment that he's looking for. Because, yeah, that was a big moment there out of turn 4, like you mentioned. And so right now, like I said, we're clicking them off pretty quickly. I would say we're just about halfway through the fuel run, not quite there yet. And the other thing I got to mention is you talk about like tires, if those are going to play a factor, things like that. Our top 2 right now leading 24.98, 24.84 for Yari and Casey. Iker was 24.46. He was a half a second quicker with the fresh tires and the clean air. So wondering as well where maybe there is going to be some fall off in this race. So again, so this could also bring in some strategy. If you feel confident that the pit stops will be able to go through cleanly, this could be a race where you consider maybe trying to do a little short pit, see if you can maybe make that undercut, if you will. As they say that Gary had a big moment there out of 4, that big push you just talked about there. So, but yeah, right now it's if we can get to that point, because yeah, these cars, like I said, I think the handling's starting to kind of show its head right now.
I think the best car I'm seeing driving through this pack right now is Jim Brooks. He is somehow getting lucky with the clean air the entire way in this mid pack here. He keeps trying to find the most optimal line, and he's sitting here back in P8 and everything, but he's getting through the corners nicely, and he's saving his right front tire in such a way that he might be able to pounce later if you got a car spinning on the apron.
Caution is out. Yari Brewpacker loops it around, but looks like I don't see anybody else involved, so I think he's going to get away with this one. And I mean, and like you said, this is up front here. Yari is going for the lead at this whole point, so we'll watch it here. We'll watch a little closer from Yari, but wondering if maybe touch the apron on entry potentially, because again, these cars, we've talked about how angry they get at the transitions, but right now all looking fairly normal. Now looks like he maybe just did it just step out on him possibly, or am I a lap too far ahead?
I think you're. Yeah, I think you're. There you go.
Let's go a little more current here then. We'll go up to speed and we'll make sure we find it. So if we have to go an extra lap, they're only taking 28 seconds. So. Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm definitely a fair bit ahead. So let's go one more round. Here we go. Oh, yeah, there was a moment there actually. Let's back it up again because it's almost like Yari got caught off guard here by Casey, because watch as he enters turn number 1, he makes just a real quick abrupt left there as if like to avoid contact. Not sure what happened there, but you can see in the background the drivers definitely saw it coming there. Everybody's drifting up to the top, and he does a great job too to keep it pretty pinned down to the bottom. The 53 just squeaks on by there as well. So we'll do those. We'll jump back live. Mentioned the Lucky Dogs. The 09 car gets one of those 2 laps back, so he's going to be just 1 down. As we'll jump to the pit stop, so Casey Bohutsky going to win the race off pit road. And Andrew, I see our first Nick DeGroot strategy call here, and it's by this guy right here in that 6 car, fuel only.
So it looks like he's trying to go for the fact that the tires are not so bad, and he's going to try and get that track position. But as we saw, this has kind of turned into a little bit of a pack race here. So some of these cars that are kind of waxing and waning, they're kind of moving forward, going back, and everything like that. And I mentioned before the race start here that Casey Pohosky was going to manage to find his way up front. He's found some way to get his car past all these other cars up here. So he's won the race off pit road. Got 4 fresh tires, but Matt is going to be on old tires. So we'll have to see how he fares there.
Yeah, so he's got a little over 20 lap old tires compared to the
he's
field.
Coming back in.
Oh, maybe he's second guessing himself there. He said, "You know what? That maybe it wasn't the best call." So yeah, so Matt's actually jumping back in just like you said. So yeah, maybe did the strategy, came out to see maybe, and it may have been also too here, Andrew, is he only wanted to do that if he could get the lead. And so, you know, if I got the clean air, it'll work. And so, you know what? I'm going to have the dirty air. Not worth the gamble. So, yeah, so he's going to jump back in.
Yeah.
Seth Groover, he's coming in, probably just going to take a splash. I'm guessing just put a little tiny bit more fuel in that 02 car. We mentioned Iker there. He's got one of his 2 laps back, so he's going to grab some fresh donuts and get back out there in the 09 machine as well. So, again, glad to see him able to recover from that. And the only thing now is yeah, it's one of those things, Andrew, where if you've used that fast pair, you kind of got to turn down the wick a little bit. You can't run those 10/10s anymore. You got to try to keep that faster pair. Now that it's out of use, yeah, you got to like now. Okay, I got to just make sure I can get to the end here.
Well, Matt also, he gave it a shot, and he saw that Casey and Charles were both able to drive to the pack. So I don't think that this will be a big problem for Matt going to the back. I'm sure he'll find a way to sneak back into the mid pack or even back to the front again. So I don't dislike this call. He's got 1 extra of caution lap of fuel on board now. So
yeah, and I'd say it might even be worth topping off one more time too. At this point, it's like because it's just he, Seth, and then Iker. But again, I mean, at that point, there's really not a big loss. I think it could be worth just getting that little tiny bit more. And actually, Yari's going to do. Yep, here he comes. They're both going to come in. So Yari and Matt both. And again, it'll be minimal because again, these cars have all the adjustable fuel maps from 1 to 5 for race conditions, and 6 and 7 are the road course, kind of more butterfly S-shaped fuel maps, and then 8 the caution map. So you suspect most of the cars running map 8 right now. But I wonder too, though, Andrew. I mean, obviously we can't see it on the telemetry, but I would be curious to see if any of those guys were able to run map 5 and stay safely in the draft. without having too much drama. Like the big tracks at like Michigan and Auto Club, Pocono, Indy, it's pretty hard to hold on to the draft in map 5 on those. I feel like this might be one where you can.
It's tough to say really, because the fact that the guys were so packed up very early on in the stint leads me to believe that cars that had such an extreme draft from the back might have had such a run into the front that they could hold on. But once you go through the corners and that mid-corner speed starts kicking, it might start to lose you a little bit. So it may be a case of playing with the fuel map, like maybe going to a higher fuel map on the straightaways and then to a lower fuel map in the corners. But that takes so much dedication and commitment that I'm not sure if these guys are really worried about that so early on in the race, whereas later on they may be able to. But another thing to remember is that there's tire limits going on in this race. So these guys that are pitted have to make sure they don't change tires. But we're going back green now. Let's see what happens.
Yep, Case is going to lean him back to green. He was the control car, so he can go as soon as that pace car is off. Now it's like a pretty clean restart for the field, and that's a great point you mentioned about the tire limits. Is yeah, if you burn them up now, you may not have them later on at the end. And I'm looking. Actually, I'm looking back at Matt's. Oh no, he came in the second time around. I didn't look at the length of the pit stop there as well, but.
Yeah, none of them changed tires. I actually watched that. And
okay, so he saved us
like a fuel save only.
All right, so I'll
fuel fill only, I should say.
Yeah,
fuel save.
No, so that's good to know. So yeah, so depending on if and how the cautions fall, that could give Matt an extra set of tires in the pits for the end. So we'll have to wait and see. But man, the field really spread out here on this restart. You can see the gap between Jim Brooks, Charles Teed to Jeff Heisung, about 1.2 seconds. Again, no problems. They'll be able to catch that gap back up. And right now, actually, Jeff is starting to click it back the right way already. But early on, though, Casey Pahutsky has a lot of challenge from behind from Gary Laverne. And so those are the two we talked about that we kind of expected to see move their way forward, and that's exactly what they've done. As now Charles T. Jim Brooks, a good little battle here, right in the top 5.
Yeah, it looks like the pack for Jeff Heisong is a little farther ahead, but once they start to save the fuel and start to back off their throttle inputs and everything a little bit, Jeff will be back, and you can already see Jeff is starting to claw that back, which will bring Kawabe and Seth back with him. So the whole pack will be together again very soon, but I'm trying to figure out what Matt Wagner is going to do back here, P10. He's back at the back part of this second pack, as it were. And
I think he's got to
find a way to claw forward.
Yes, I think he's got it cranked up right now, because last time by he ran the fastest lap of the race. This time a little slower, but still pretty much one of the only cars. Well, actually, yeah, one of the only car in the 23-second bracket. So, yeah, he's making moves. But while that was happening, remember we talked about Charles Teed finding his way forward? Yeah, that just happened. He's already got to the lead after all that said and done. So it took one caution, a pit stop, and then Charles Teed's worked his way right back to the front. So, again, we did talk about the fuel window being around 40 laps, maybe low 40s on full rich. How far can they go if they really crank this thing down on the fuel window? I don't think there's still any way that anybody can pull off less than a two-stopper. I mean, because that'd be what, 60? That would be about, what, 50 laps per run to be able to make it? A little over 50?
I don't think anybody can make it on fuel, even doing that top off at this point. But it just gives you a little extra stuff to play with, because if it comes to a point where there's a yellow that comes out maybe 10 laps before the end of the stint, and you saved about a gallon and a half of fuel, you can run a little longer, and it leaves you options to stay out longer and hope for another caution that may actually bring the whole rest of the field down the pit lane with you, where you can figure it out later. But doing it early is always the best time to do it, because it just leaves so many options for you open, especially for the fact that you see this is turning into a 2x2 race, and there's different ways for you to make some passes. Some people that want to save fuel, some people that want to go forward. Just playing around what the whole entire atmosphere of the front of the pack here looks like. I think it's better to do something similar to what Matt and whoever was with him, Yari, that I believe it was Yari that did that extra pit stop at the end with him. It just gives you more opportunities.
Yeah, no, Matt and Yari were the ones that pitted at 24. Again, it'll be minimal gains, but like I said, it could be a couple tenths of a gallon, and I mean that could be enough. Like I said, I mean if they're able to kind of manage the field, that can get them that extra lap that maybe nobody else can. So But right there, you see Gary Laverne. He's going to work the top side, and Gary's been really good up top. We saw Casey really good run that top side too. So I feel like it's kind of like you said, Andrew. It seems like as the laps wear in, I think it's the momentum. I think is the way to describe it. Is they're able to keep their speed built up a little bit more, keep the engine wound up a little better, and that seems to be the way to go for as the run wears on.
I think this is turning more into a fuel safe stint. You can see everybody is, for the most part, single file, especially down the straightaways. People are trying to find the clean air on the corners and everything. But before, in the first stint, at the start of the race, we saw a lot of side-by-side, 1, 2, 3, 4 rows back. And now we're seeing a lot of this fall into line. And let's see how much fuel we can save. So I think this is like the test stint to see how much fuel you could save before you go into the end of the race, if you have to know if you could full burn it or not. I'm not seeing a lot of action here in the top 7 or 8 or so.
Yeah, it's definitely kind of got a little calmer. I did a quick math check if my math is decent, which never can be guaranteed, but I was getting basically if someone can go 52 laps on fuel, they could try to pull a one stopper off here. So it basically require roughly about 52 laps each stint, evenly based on the pit stops at lap 22, and then of course going to the 125 distance. So I'll be curious to see if anybody tries to pull off. Of course, it all depends on things going clean and green to the end, but it also requires them to have to do it twice, and then also make sure that they don't lose too much time in the process from when maybe the lead pack or the guys burning more fuel, I should say, pitting. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see. I do, like I said, there are a few kind of comers and goers. Craig's been kind of just, I feel like, just not going full send. Like I said, maybe it's a comfort thing, maybe it's a strategy, I'm not sure. So that's like he's that one that I always point out when it comes to fuel time, where it's like, all right, if there's a way to make it, I feel like Craig's the guy to kind of spy on.
I'm trying to watch how these cars are reacting at the exit of 2 and the exit of 4, and as expected, this track it's just so impossible to get both sides of the watching. That turn 4 is the tricky corner there. The cars are kind of like not exiting at the same spot every time, so it's very hard to try and measure if you're able to get a good run down the front straightaway to save the fuel. I think 52 laps is a big ask, especially if you have to do 52 laps. You have to do it from the moment you leave pit lane to save the fuel. And if you happen to pit off schedule, and let's say you stay out as long as you possibly can and you're pitting by yourself, as soon as you leave the pits, you have to be saving fuel. And if you have nobody around you to help save the fuel off of, that's going to be such a tricky ask. It's getting very, very sketchy here on the front straightaway. Got a big wreck here.
Yeah, caution is out. Yeah, a whole bunch of cars had issues there. Unfortunately, Casey Putski getting the worst of it, it appears. We'll see if he can grab a gear, hopefully loop that thing around. He's going to try to see if he can get back without losing a lap. But yeah, there's a couple things happening there right all together. So let's go back. We'll take another look at this one as it was happening, because yeah, there was a lot of cars that just looked very uncomfortable. So we'll initially focus on Casey here, because as he was coming out of 4, like I said, he got a great run on Gary, but right here he has to keep it really pinched down, and you can see lost a lot of momentum to make sure he didn't drift into Gary. And then from there, like, it just seemed like it really bottled. Like, watch here back, we'll watch to Jim and Craig and Seth Groover, and they just almost are all on top of each other here, almost a little bit of contact. And then we'll now focus back on Casey, and it almost looks identical to what we saw with Yari earlier, where that thing just stepped out on him right on the entry of turn 1. So maybe there is a little bit of a loose patch or something there if you don't hit it quite right.
Well, if you look back at when he exited turn 4, he was a little unsettled on the first curb. So I think he was trying to catch the car all the way down the quad oval.
Yeah,
if you
let's
want to
go
rewind
back.
that,
We'll take a better look at it here.
You could definitely tell that he was unsettled, and he thought he had it, didn't have it, had it, didn't have it kind of situation. All that did was set a whole bunch of attitude for the cars behind that feel like they really. Yeah, they really feel like they had to react to something, because everyone's kind of like, oh, what's going to happen here? And next thing you know, there's cars on the wall and everything. So
yeah, I think Craig got a little piece of the outside wall, it looked like, too, when we were watching that.
Yeah, I think he had some contact with Eric Peterson entering turn 1, who was trying to have some trepidation entering the corner there. So I believe Matt Wagner also might have been caught up in that as well.
Yeah, so and you can see Casey. I think he was able to limp around to get back onto right now. Kind of, I think is tail end of the lead lap, if I'm not mistaken. So what he'll do is he'll jump in here, hit pit road. I think Iker should be getting the wave. I'm not 100% sure there as well. So we'll double. Right now they're both showing tail end of the lead lap, but yeah, I'm gonna go back one more time here. We'll take a look at for Craig Forsyth as well to try to verify. For he and you said Matt Wagner, you think as well?
I think it's all just nothing very severe, just a couple of cars bumping into one another, and yeah, there's the Craig Forsyth
Oh,
and
Eric Peterson as well, yeah.
and I think Matt Wagner's on the bottom there. He got touched a little bit by, I believe, Seth Groover. Might have had a
Yeah,
little
so
contact. Everything's very, very small and
little
very
contact there too. 18 and the
everyone's
51.
Just barely touching each other, but you never know if there's any slight wing damage, slight somethings there. So I think everyone's gotten out of it unscathed except for Casey Potsky.
Yeah, actually, I'm looking at pit stop times. I can't tell you Matt Wagner had a 26-second stop, Seth Groover 25-second stop. So maybe some damage repairs to those cars. Usually a front wing is about 5 additional seconds. Rear wing, I want to say, is about 10 additional. So doesn't quite. I don't think the math works on for that. So maybe if they had some enough of a side to side contact or something like that, try to fix it up a little bit. Craig had a slightly longer stop, 10.3 seconds. So. But everybody else was in the kind of the 7-8 second window. But once again, though, I think there was a little bit of fuel strategy here. Gary Laverne a 7-second stop, but Eric Peterson 5.5, Jeff Hysong 5.1. So I'll be curious to see on that one. But what we haven't done yet is we haven't stepped away because we got to show off our 40 Racewear sponsor. So we'll be right back.
40 Racewear, makers of the ultimate sim racing shoes and custom apparel designed for sim racing by sim racers. 40 racing shoes are engineered to connect racers to the pedals in a way no other racing shoe can, all the while giving you the comfort needed to complete those double and triple stints. Visit 40racewear.com and check out the latest sim racing products that let you connect to your sim.
All right, we're back again. Big thank you to Jim Herrick, everybody, 40 Racewear for helping sponsor the league. And see Craig and his 40 Racewear number 99. Did have a handful of drivers here once again topping off here. Andrew, you got Yari Brewpacher, you got Matt Wagner, 53 of Quabi Brooks as well. And then yeah, so I'm not sure if maybe Iker in the 09 maybe had a little bit of a contact somewhere at the time of the yellow, because he should have been able to get the wave around there, but maybe with a slight involvement, unfortunately, didn't get that extra lap back. So he still sits one down. He and Casey are going to be the lucky dog battle now between the two of them. And so now, though, I think, once again, Andrew, I think we're right on the window of now a one stop to the finish, as we're on lap 46, going to be 47 to 125. So it's kind of right in that 40 lap window we talked about. So I think from here, probably safe to be able to make it on a one-stopper for all these drivers.
I believe you're right, and especially Matt and Yari have topped off, and Quabi. So they're kind of able to go as fast as they want. And you might see those guys moving towards the front and having someone like Gary Laverne, Charles Teed, etc. up front trying to save some fuel. I'm not sure if Iker is fully repaired, so that'll be interesting for the back of the field here.
Yeah, to keep an eye on right now. A little gap between Seth Groover to Yari Brewpacher. There's a couple of cars to lap down, like I said, KC and Iker, but I say again, everybody's here locked on safely in the draft. No dramas there. So now it's just like I said, yeah, now it's gonna be the kind of the strategy, and that seems to be the way this race has gone on these restarts. Is they spread out real big and then give them a few laps, and then they all kind of just pull right back into each other, which is kind of the nature of the draft of these cars. But yeah, I feel like, I mean, I'm sure I pay a little extra attention. Oh, it's got one kiss in the wall there. I think that was the 09.
Yeah, that was like Iker trying to let him go, I think.
Yeah, it's one of those, yeah, almost be too nice at times, and it almost hurts yourself more. But Looks like he's going to get away with it. I think he's fine, though. So they look like just a slight scuff. But, and actually, I do need to mention, you got Seth Groover to Yari now. That's actually now grown to about 1.6 seconds. But again, I think he's still in the windy action, because he's got Casey Putsky as the ladder, if you will, kind of in between the two of them to pull them right back in. But what I was going to mention, and something you caught on earlier too, is the 51 car, Jim Brooks. I feel like he likes to run the top in a lot of the speedway type races. And of course, I say that he runs the middle, but I feel like he's been probably the highest of most of these drivers in this race, trying to run that second, if not even third lane, depending where the cars around him are.
I think he's trying his best to not focus where his position is, more where the clean air is. And that's really what the key is when you're driving these cars, because that saves your right front tire on these ovals. And it gives you a better opportunity to kind of predict where these cars really want to go on both sides of the track, because everyone's got a whole different style of how they race. And picking up on little stuff like that is very, very useful and could come to help him on later on in the race, especially if there's some incident that he has to avoid.
Yeah, no, and it's exactly that. Yeah, finding what works, what doesn't work, and yeah, finding what maybe your car's the most comfortable with. And also even just if you've run the bottom the whole race and it's like, okay, I got to move to the top, you're not going to get comfortable up top immediately. So you kind of have to build up to it. And so that's also, like you said, a situation where you can kind of like, all right, I know what I've got. I know if I can push a little hard, do I have to roll out of it a little bit if I do that? So it kind of gets you prepared for that. Like right now for Gary, he is running kind of more high on entry, then he kind of cuts it down. But again, though, when he enters high, though, he's got a lot of clean air in front of him in doing so. So I think that allows that nice rotation for him. I said, actually, let's go ahead and hop on board. We'll watch exactly what we're talking about. We'll jump on the roll bar cam here, and you'll watch as you'll see how Charles Teed enters versus how he enters. He always stays about a groove up, and then he makes that cut down there right in the kind of the center of the turn to get that exit off and get right back in the toe. So he's been doing this pretty regularly here, Andrew, where he just enters a little high, cuts right back down, and I mean, it seems like it's been comfortable for him.
Yeah, I'm watching these guys go through turn 3 and 4, and you could definitely tell that all the cars just kind of stall out their progress. They have such a run down the back straightaway, and as soon as you turn into turn 3, it just pushes the car completely up. As you see, Jim gets a little tight there. Craig has to move up a little bit, which gives Seth Groover an opportunity from behind, but I think the optimal line, especially in turn 3 and 4, is kind of enter the middle part of the corner, wash up high. I think Jim is trapped on the bottom now.
Oh, a little bit of contact.
Little contact there.
Yeah, we'll have to see if I think Seth might have lost his left front wing end plate. If that's the case, that car, yeah, I'm going to say that's definitely the case, because you can see that car not rotating at all here. So he's going to either have to make an unscheduled stop or just try to limp this thing. Maybe if he can get into the clean air, he can at least just hang on to it for now. But yeah, what I was noticing there for Jim, like you mentioned, when Craig got by him, is he was pinned to the inside line. And again, he seems to be more comfortable up top. So once he got trapped on the bottom, that car just looked very uncomfortable for him. And I said, unfortunately, we saw that. I think he had to do a big check to avoid contact with Craig, which got him, unfortunately, right into the path of Seth there. So
I wonder if Jim's rear wing he's going to be coming in this lap. I wonder if his rear wing's messed up.
Yeah, so the car looks okay, but yeah, I'm again behind the wheel. I'm sure they can feel it, so he's gonna hop in here again. This will probably drop a lap. I will be curious to see if he opts to take a fast repair or not on this one. And again, if he feels it's more of a suspension versus the wing, it might be worth saving the 10 seconds and just take that fast repair. But of course, same thing for Iker. At that point, that's what you got the rest of the way. So I'm gonna watch and see what the pit stop time is, and right now it's about 8.5. So I'm going to say based on that, probably went ahead and just did the fast repair and got back out on track here. So he's going to go a lap down. Shouldn't go 2, but right now he'll now be in that fight with the 3 and the 09.
So we're back up at the front again. I'm watching Gary Laverne have similar struggles to Milwaukee last week, where he seemed to have a dominant car, and now Charles Teed is pulling away in the lead, and Gary is seeming to be a little slower, holding up both P3 and P4 on this run here. So I'm wondering if the track has changed and Gary hasn't adjusted to it, or if he's really playing a defense mode right now and saying, okay, I lost the lead. I want to make sure I keep second place, and I'm going to do what I can, which is allowing Charles to take away. take
Yeah,
off.
it's interesting to see. Yeah, because you're right. That said, last time by he was 100th of a second slower, so not by any means slow. So yeah, but it is interesting, like I said, because yeah, Charles has 7/10 of a second on him right now, and I say I'll keep an eye on the lap times. This time it has grown. This time it looks like it's going to be probably at least half a tenth, if not a full tenth slower. Yeah, 48 to a 54, so 6/10 right there, kind of right where we were kind of guessing. The other thing is, unfortunately, with the damage, the O2 of Seth Groover, he has fallen off the pack there, and Iker was kind of trapped behind him. Now got back by, so now he's also lost the pack and all that. So Casey's actually looking pretty right now for the lucky dog if we get a yellow. But oh man, right now these three though, I mean, this is like you said, they are really bunched up behind Gary.
Something has definitely happened to Gary. He's fallen off again. This is taking us right back to last week in Milwaukee, where he had such a lead. It turns out after the fact we learned that he touched the wall a little bit, so hopefully he hasn't touched the wall again in such a way. But Eric now takes P2, and Gary is now going to be stuck in someone else's dirty air here, trying to find a way back forward again.
Yeah, I think for Eric though, he sees that gap growing. He knows that draft window, and he says, I gotta make a move because I don't want to risk letting Charles get away and just try to run away with this thing. As last time,
look how much Eric's already pulled away. Like he's not necessarily holding up the rest of these guys. Gary is falling backwards, and curious to figure out the reason why he has managed to lose all this pace all of a sudden.
Yeah, and also the car just, to me, out of four especially, I feel like Gary looks very uncomfortable. That car just kind of exits really low. Obviously, it won't happen here because Craig's going to duck to the inside here. But yeah, the car just didn't look comfortable on the exit of 4. And again, it might just be this is about that magic tire wear time too, because again, they pitted at about lap 43. We're at 60 to go now, so again, that's going to be they've run about 20 laps, and it seems like it's about that 20 lap mark is when these things start to kind of maybe not hit a cliff, but you really start to see those tire wear take effect.
Now we see Matt Wagner is back up to P5 from his top-off session before, so he has found a way to make his way forward. And we were talking about before the race what kind of Matt Wagner we were going to see against Craig Forsyth, and I predicted we were going to see a Matt Wagner that wanted to lead the championship again. And it looks like he has put himself in a spot. Okay, he's managed to fall towards the back of the pack, but he's like, no, I'm going to keep topping off the fuel, and I'm going to put myself back up in a spot where I am going to be on the podium. And here we go. We got our P1 and P2 in the championship here fighting for P4.
Yeah, it's a really good fight between the two of them, too. Just giving each other plenty of room. Matt's, of course, got the shorter distance through the turn. But like we talked about, Craig's keeping the momentum on the exit. This time, Matt will clear, though. And again, right now, Charles Teed still just a little ahead, although Peterson was about a tenth quicker that last time by. And now Peterson, for the first time, he's going to have some dirty air. Although it'll be pretty quick. So the O2, again, he's missing that left front of the wing end plate. So I say the problem for Seth here, though, is he's going to now, same thing, he's going to have some dirty air. So that car is going to be even tighter than it was without that front end plate. So he's going to have to try to just hope that he still has some clean air on the entry. Otherwise, that thing's just going to completely plow. But it looks like he's already got it, what he needs set in for that car, because he's held a pretty clean line so far through these group of cars.
Let's not forget to mention Yari also, who did the top off there with Matt, has made his way up to P6. So that top off strategy has worked for them. These guys that want to maybe save a couple of teaspoons of fuel here and there, they're doing so. But Matt and Yari can push full blast to try and get their way back up to the front again.
Yeah, so right now the last two cars in this lead pack that are on the lead lap here are trying to get around. That is actually, the last car in the lead lap is here, the 53. He's going to get by Casey Pahutsky. That's important for him because now that puts him back to the first car one lap down as well. Because for that couple of laps, it was actually the O2 of Seth Groover. But yeah, so now we get back to our leaders because, like I said, and again, I watched Gary out of turn 4. I'll try to focus on him, see if we can see it again this time to me, Andrew, but it just almost looks like he has to chase it down to the bottom as if that car is just extremely loose, or if that's just the way he's exiting. But the last couple of times I've noticed that he exits, like, he doesn't let it drift up to the wall. He just keeps it hooked to the bottom here.
Well, it's mostly because he's entering very high in turn 3, and I wonder if he's scared of that turn 4 wall that I was kind of mentioning earlier on in the race. It kind of makes you a little slower on the exit because you're adding extra distance going through turn 3 and most of turn 4. but it keeps you very safe later on. So he's riding off the right rear tire a little bit more, trying to propel his way around the outside there. But it's not going to do you any favors if you're in a battle with someone. So it's kind of better to kind of practice both lines a little bit and take the inside line more, not the one that pushes you up to the turn 4 wall, but the one that finds you clean air to get a decent run down the front straightaway.
So yeah, so we'll do those. We're really close to pit stops, so we'll run through the field here real quick to show off our lead lap drivers. Kicking off with our pole sitter here tonight, Charles Teed. Right behind him is his teammate Eric Peterson there in that number 36, up 1 spot from 3rd. Gary Laverne, we mentioned, sitting in 3rd, up 3 spots from 6th. Then Matt Wagner, again, going for the championship at the moment against Craig Forsyth, sitting in 4th. Craig right behind him, though, in that 5th spot, but now being pressured by that number 49 of Yari Brupacher in the 6th position there. And yeah, there goes Yari. He's going to look down low. Behind them, a couple tenths, is the 18 of Jeff Heisong. Right now, 1 spot from where he started. And then, unfortunately, out of the main pack, but still on the lead lap, is the 53 right here of Quabi Brooks. Right now sitting in that 8th spot. And then the first car 1 down is right there in front of him, that 3 of Casey Pahutsky. Again, we saw the incident he had a little earlier on. So right now he's the first car 1 lap down. And then the other cars lap down include this guy right here, Seth Groover. Again, he's just trying to wait for that pit stop to be able to get his front wing on. Decided just to run it all the way out. And so the contact with the car is that car right behind him, Jim Brooks. Jim pitted early, got his damage repaired. He's back on track. And then Iker Preghetto, again, he was 2 laps down. He got one of them back, but unfortunately just hasn't been able to be able to get that second one as of yet. So those are our 12 drivers at the moment. I think Seth actually just got passed by that number 51. So we'll jump back now to our leaders because Peterson has got right to that rear gearbox here of Charles Teed as we approach our pit stop window.
Peterson is wanting this lead so bad. He's put so much pressure on Charles Teed during your description of the top 12 there. He's really tried to find every line possible. He's tried middle, he's tried high, he's tried kind of offset low line in turn 3 and 4. And I think Eric Peterson is definitely the faster car right now, and Teed is just hanging on the bottom line as best he can.
And also the other thing we missed was Matt Wagner got around Gary Laverne to move Matt up into that podium spot. And also Craig got passed by Yari Brupacher. So basically now Matt's got a 3-position advantage on him. Again, we're not at any point like
Eric goes low and he washes up to the wall, and this gives Matt a chance now going into turn 1.
Yeah, look out the back. And there's Matt to the outside and saying we feel like the outside's where you want to be. And look at the momentum he's getting through the top there. I say, but right now Peterson's giving Teed is giving Peterson the toe. But right now it looks like again he's gonna now have that dirty air through the turn. He's gonna wash up.
Yeah, that was the same thing that happened to Jim Brooks earlier, and Jim got pinned to the bottom and he just got pushed right up through turn 3 there. But I give Eric Peterson is trying every single line right now. I give him a lot of credit. I've watched the last 5 or 6 laps or so. He's tried high, middle, low. Now he knows the low won't work, so I doubt he'll do that again. He'll try and find maybe the middle to high line here to try and get the best run he can. But now he has to worry about Matt Wagner behind, like you mentioned.
Yeah, so I'll say now Eric's got to regroup. Matt's got to regroup, take a breath, because that was a big save by him. And you're right. I mean, Peterson had just exactly what happened to Jim there. Just got that real bad aero wash. Had to back out of it to avoid hitting anything, and was able to just clear Matt in doing so, but then Matt had to react. But man, right now Matt is looking very strong on the outside line. He's going to jump to the outside here once again in turn 1. But now they've got traffic. Yeah, Matt's going to back out of it here, and now they got to try to work around the O2. And yeah, you see Matt there, I think, again, lost a little bit of time, but I think that's the right call here because, again, we're very close to that pit stop window as well. So, again, we talked about in the low 40s being the window. So far, no takers as of yet. So, I feel like safely, Gary Laverne around.
Oh, Gary's going.
Can he hang on to it? Oh, he does not hit the wall.
He's going to get a penalty for that.
We'll see. I say sometimes the admins might clear those, but what a save by Gary. Did not touch the wall. We'll go back here. We're going to watch one more time here. We'll focus closer on Gary as this happens before we get to pit stops. That car steps out. He's fighting it the whole way and never contact with the wall. Yeah, probably going about 150, 180 through pit road there, but what a save by Gary.
Great bit of driving for sure.
And so, yeah, so right now you see Jim Brooks getting around him on track, not for position, though. But, yeah, right now that battle still sits for second, though. Matt Wagner just completely handed. Here comes Charles Teed, first to hit pit road. That's 40 to go here, so that's right on the window. I think they can make that work. But now this is a battle for the lead, and now the next question, of course, too, is how far can they go? But surprising to me, though, here, Craig Forsyth also on pit road. I really thought Craig would try to go further.
I wonder if he just saw way too much dirty air ahead. Let me try and see if I can get some clean air and clean tires and maybe jump a few cars just by default.
Yeah, here comes Peterson. He's hopped in. Looked like a nice clean entry for him as well. So again, you talked about the two that topped off on the one to go here. Matt Wagner, Yari Brupacher, they now run 1-2. Jeff Heisong's done a good job saving. He sits in third. About 2.5 seconds back. Quabi Brooks also topped off. He's another 4 seconds back. So looking at pit stop times right now, looks like everybody's got in and out so far fairly clean. Matt's going to keep running here. Last time by was a...
we have to watch out because Casey Pahutsky is missing part of his front wing. He had an incident.
Oh, yep. Here he
track
comes.
There.
Yeah, I'll have to try to see if we can take a look at what happened with Casey.
Looks like he had some incident with Seth entering turn 1.
Oh, no. Up here comes Matt Wagner. He's going to hit pit roads. Got to get it down to speed. Looks pretty clean, though. So he's going to jump in. That's going to move Yari to the lead here. Now the 53 is going to stay out as well. So these guys are stretching at maybe they can catch a timely yellow, trap the field a lap down. Because you can see on the ticker on the left right now, Charles Teed in 5th is still trapped one down here. But right now, though, we'll wait for the full cycle.
On pit road.
Yep. Heisong's in. Here comes Yari. He's going to make his stop. And that leaves one driver left. I think he's against the... Yep. Nope, he's coming late entry there for the 53. And it looks like this will complete the cycle. So great job by all the drivers here. And yeah, like you mentioned, unfortunately for Gary Laverne. And actually, yeah, I'm wondering, maybe he does have that pit penalty because he's been on pit road for 1:20. But now, let's watch the cycle out of pit road. Matt's building back up to speed here. Or I should say building back up to speed. Here comes Charles Teed, Craig Forsyth. All right, so I think Yari was a little further back, though. I don't know if he'll be able to hold on to this one.
He's on the access road here, but yeah, you're right. I don't think he's going to be able to hold on to this one, but he ran a little longer, and he's pushing it. He's hustling out of pit road as best he could.
But now you have to worry is, did he drift out too far before the pit exit line?
It was very close, but I think he got away with it. But, I mean, what a great hustle by Yari there. He really was... He was doing his best to make sure he got out as fast as he could, but safety first, of course, and he didn't spin it, but he's now found himself back to where he was.
Yeah, and so now the other option and actually Gary Laverne is back on track there, so he has a 1:50 pit stop, and I think that's because there's speeding, then there's excessive speeding, and then there's what happened to Gary, and I think that might be what we're seeing there, but I can tell you, though, Craig has gotten around Charles Teed. And importantly, like you mentioned, for Yari being as aggressive as he was, he's within that 1.5 second window that I always talk about. So right now, he's in this lead draft here. He's got the toe off of Charles Teed, Craig Forsyth. Right now, Jim Brooks is showing in 5th place, but right now he needs a yellow because he pitted at 57. So he's going to have to come in here in probably the next, I would say, 10 or so laps or so to be able to make his final scheduled stop. But right now, though, looking at lap time-wise, actually last time by, Matt Wagner, he put down a blistering lap, 23.85, 0.2 quicker than Craig with a 24.08. So, yeah, Matt's found a pretty good combination right now in that 6 car.
I'm trying to figure out who's the best. I think even Charles Teed, who was the first to pit, seems that he'll make it on fuel. So I think that everybody's good for fuel now. So now it's just a straight up race to the end here. So I guess Matt had the best pit stop cycle there. So he's sitting in the best spot right now. His championship rival Craig Forsyth about a second behind. I'm not sure how Teed lost so much time there. I guess maybe he might have been slightly more conservative on his pit stop where it kept him safe, and unfortunately he lost a couple spots there. Yeah. I don't think him pitting early did anything really there. I think it was just all pit stop times.
Yeah, no, I think it is pit stop time because I'm looking at in pit on his pit stall, I should say, 8.92 seconds for Charles Teed. Craig Forsyth was 7.98, so right there Craig gained a second. And then total pit lane time was 36.37 for T to a 34.78 for Craig. So basically in those two things right there, Craig gained a second and a half on him. And right now, though, they've got a very tough Casey Putsky to pass. But for Casey right now, I don't think he's going to want to let him by, because I think in his mind, he's right now, unfortunately, 2 down. So he wants to probably try to get around Matt Wagner to get back to the tail end of 1 down. Actually, as I said, Jim Brooks on pit road for his, unfortunately, I say his schedule stopped due to his earlier unscheduled stop. As soon as I say that, though, Casey rolls out of it, lets the leaders on by. But really, I think the driver that got the worst of it is Eric Peterson, because he's actually now a lap down, the first car 1 down. And I'm looking at the pit stop and everything. Everything looks clean, so I'm wondering maybe had a spin or something like that on pit exit, had to try to regroup and save it. Because yeah, unfortunately, so he's lost a lot of time during that pit cycle.
So we got Craig and Charles right behind Matt now. So
here they go.
It's gonna be a matter of side-by-side racing. No more fuel saving. No more trying to hold back. I think we're gonna see a lot of pack racing for the last. We got 26 laps once they cross the line.
Yeah, and you saw right there, Craig tried to cut underneath Matt. Matt had none of it. So yeah, it's on right now. And I was saying, we talked about these 3. Yari's on his way. He's only 7/10 back, and it's only by a lap, but Yari does have 1 lap fresher tires than Matt. But like I said, I don't think tires are going to be too crucial here. But right now, like you talk about the high line versus the bottom line, we're getting to about that point where we feel like the high line was better. And you can see Craig is trying to really keep Matt honest, maybe trying to keep him bound down a little bit here. But now let's jump back, because here's Yari. He's got a great view of the 3 of them here. So right now, as it runs, we've got a 4-horse race here for the win of this thing.
So we got 2 championship contenders. We got one guy who is a little upset with how his race happened last week, so he wants to win and is going to do anything in his power. And then we got Yari, who's just going to sit here and realize that, hey, I can't do anything to pass 3 cars up ahead of me. Let's let them all just figure it out, and then I'm going to go to victory lane. So we got 4 different attitudes of drivers here.
I think Yari's going to go for it still. I don't think he's going to wait for them to figure it out. I think he's just going to put his name in the hat. Yeah, there he goes.
He looks like he wants to put it 3 wide up at the top.
Yeah, so I don't see Yari as one that's just going to ride, and he's going to clear Charles T through the top side. And again, this is probably for Yari. Again, he pitted the latest, so slightly fresher tires, but also he had a lot of clean air during that cycle. So he's been able to kind of get those tires nice and probably warmed up kind of cleanly versus maybe some aggressive, dirty air having the draft and all that. So, and again, you mentioned points though. Right now, Craig and Matt only 4 apart. That said, Teed's he's 36 out, but he's also missed a couple races. So once you throw a drop week or 2 into that could put Teed right into the championship mix as well here. So yeah, there's a lot to play for these 4 drivers.
Yari is completely alive. You're right. His later pit stop may have given him a little bit more tire life than we would have thought of initially, but I'm imagining all 4 of these guys just pressing buttons intensely in their car, trying to find any sort of roll bar, weight jack, or adjustment that'll get them any sort of speed going on here. This is such exciting stuff here for the last 20 laps.
Yeah, this is really intense racing right now. Like I said, you see Craig, again, he's trying to keep Matt as honest as he can. Let's hop on that roll bar. You can see Matt over to his left, and again, Craig's not going to squeeze him, but he's going to try to force kind of Matt down to that bottom half of the track. And right now, like we've talked about, Matt's been able to hold the bottom down there, not really losing too much speed. So it's been going pretty well for him. Like I said, you see right there, Craig drops down just a tiny bit, steal a little bit of draft there out of 2, and that's going to get him to the side pod. But again, right there, not quite enough to get the nose ahead. And what's going to happen now, though, is they're about to catch the 09 car while they're running side by side. And this is where you get a little nervous, and maybe also where they key up and say, hey, we're side by side here. If we can maybe get you to roll out of it completely. But I think what's going to, Iker's going to do it, actually. He's going to drop straight to the apron. That is some really, really impressive respect by the 09 car again. I mean, he's still going for his own race, but he said, you know what? Tonight's not my night. I'm going to let these guys go, let them battle out for the win. And so, yeah, big props to Iker there.
Matt just touched that apron, the same thing that we saw Casey do, and then we saw, he gets a little
slide
loose
there.
I think Craig is doing the right thing here, just trying to pinch him just as low as he could. They're both slow. Here comes Yari, make it 3 wide as best he can. But I think that outside line in turn 3 and turn 4 especially is really strong right now. But the super outside line's not great.
Yeah, and you can see Matt's definitely having a hard time holding that bottom, though. Yeah, like you said, Andrew, even there he's hot before, he kind of wiggled up a little bit. And so the saving grace is Craig had to kind of react, and that really hurt the momentum there. But yeah, like you said, Yari right now, he's just trying to figure out, where can I go? I think he just needs one of these guys to lose a little bit of momentum, and he's going to be able to pounce.
I think as soon as so Craig is in the most optimum spot right now because he's sitting right on that middle line. He's getting a lot of momentum just running that middle line. It's not the fastest, but it's keeping him in the conversation. If Craig misses the entrance to turn 3 and pushes up towards that turn 4 wall, then that's it. Then he has to back out of it. But Yari is the closest that he's been entering turn 3 right now, but there's just not enough speed on the outside line to do anything. But if you could do something to get your way down to turn 1 with any sort of clean air in between the two of them, then you can really make something happen here in this conversation.
Yeah, and you saw that. And so that's the thing for Craig now. He can't go full focus on Matt. He's got to still watch his mirror, make sure he doesn't give Yari an opening to get underneath him. Because, yeah, at that point, then it's really Yari's race to go after Matt for the win, potentially. So, and again, I mean, any little bobble, it's going to change everything. But right now, these guys are just, again, having to be pretty much inch perfect here because we're down to 14 to go. You see right there, I think Matt had a little drift up. Craig reacted. He drifted up a little bit too, so he's got to slot back in. Oh man, Yari tried to get the draft off of Craig. Craig was trying to get the draft off of Matt, and they both popped up right alongside each other there.
I know it seems to look like that it's going to be cookie cutter the whole way, the rest of the way around, but Matt's right side tires must be screaming right now. Even with the lower temperatures, it's so hard to hold that bottom line. Craig is trying his best to pinch him down. And if I were the third car in line right now, I'm just trying to find any clean air possible, which is what Yari's doing to perfection. But you can see Matt's starting to drift up from that low line a little bit, and he's starting to move to the middle. And that gets more problematic. And the more this goes on, it just gets more and more tenuous. And Craig has to be cognizant of that, especially if the car is starting to slide up a little more. It's okay, I want to pinch him down a little bit, but I can't pinch him down so much that we touch.
Yeah, that's the thing is when you're the outside car, you're the one that's gonna have kind of get the net negative result, if you will. So it's definitely a risk versus reward. So now the question is for Craig. I mean, do you try to see if you can basically get Matt to drift off the bottom and do the over under like right there? If he could have timed it where he can maybe cut underneath Matt, is that maybe the approach to take? But again, right now he's been pretty committed to the top side But again, you can see he's not drifting more than a lane up, though. He's maybe doing about a half a lane or so as we're 10 to go here. So I don't know what maybe Craig's best approach would be for this one here.
It's tough on these 1.5 mile ovals to get the over-under run that you're speaking of, just because the back straightaway is not long enough to get from behind, alongside, and ahead. It's almost kind of you have to enter a little wider and try and carry more speed down the next straightaway, but you have to make sure that by the end of either the front straight or the back straight, that you have an overlap in order to get some sort of run going on the outside that forces them to lift. And I don't think with the way these cars are set up that any lifting is going on in clean air at all.
No, I think these guys are probably pushing that thing as hard as they can right now. And yeah, saying I think Yari's trying to regroup and make a final charge here in just a few more laps. Or, like you said, saw how Matt was starting to get a little bit tight or loose. Yeah, sorry, tight off the bottom. And said, all right, Craig's kind of pinned his outside. I might be able to get a 2-for-1 if they both have a bobble. So we'll see. Blake said, and you see right again, Craig tries to steal just a little bit of a sniff of a draft there and then get right back after it here. And you see in the background, Charles Teed, he's still in this pack, but he's about 9 cents off. I'm wondering, again, did he have to back it down, save some fuel, and maybe we do see him turn the wick up in these last 5 laps or so. So I'm not going to count the 50 car yet either. I'm wondering, we talked about he was the earliest of everybody. Well, he and Craig at 85. So I would suspect that he should be good to go on fuel. But yeah, I'm curious to see as Craig, again, he's just going to get as big of a draft as he can. He's 0.02 of a second entering the turn. But again, though, Matt he can't hold the bottom. And so Craig has to react to that. And so that's what's almost allowing Matt to gain a little bit. But now right there at the line, it's now dead heat here entering one.
I was just going to say that. It doesn't look like Craig has anything ahead, but when they get to the line, Craig's got so much speed that he actually might be able to beat him to the line or get very close thereof. So I wonder if Craig just tries to get that draft, like you mentioned, enter kind of middle of the track and then just hang there and see if he has enough speed to beat him through the quad oval.
I was going to say 5 to go here. And again, there are no green-white checkers in this series. So once we get close enough and say there are cars lapped down, so there would be the extra lap of caution as well. So that's going to be on these guys' mind as well. They're going to want to be as far forward as they can here, just in case they have a nose ahead if and when there's a caution that could come out.
Oh, that was the best Craig has done there. He got a little loose through turn 4, but look how close they are crossing the line. It's gonna be, if he does it the right way on the last lap, we could see a surprise winner here. And there is a lap car ahead as we look ahead into the distance.
Yeah, I mean, we saw him earlier, so we saw him drop to the apron. Looks like he might go to the top this time. But again, this could actually help Craig, where he might be able to sniff a little bit of draft off the 09. And, oh, look at this.
Look at it.
Huge run by Craig. He's going to clear Matt there. What a big move there.
I don't even know if that was the lap car that did that. It might have just been distraction. Oh, there's a car ahead. And then you break your concentration just for that blip of a second. The next thing you know, that you missed the corner. So I think that's what that simply was. There was no dirty air or anything that was going on there. I think it was just simply a lapse in judgment, which can happen to anyone.
So now the shoe's on the other foot here. Matt's got to try to regroup in these 2 laps that he has got left here. Can he be the one to try to pinch Craig down and try to make something happen? So right now you see he's entering real high and but say waiting to get that big run out of the backstretch. And now he's going to cut below. He's going to get the big run here down the back. He's going to enter high. I think he's gonna have to do it a little earlier, but look at the
that.
momentum.
He's gotta run. I was just gonna say that Craig gave him a gift there. He didn't block down low at all down the back straightaway that last lap, which I found very surprising. Maybe he felt like he had the confidence in order to do it, but Craig surges back forward again on this turn 2 there. Matt's got to run.
There's some moving.
Now Craig has got the bottom, but Matt's got to send it on the outside as best he can. It's not gonna be enough.
Yeah, so he's got to see if he can steal some draft, get the momentum to the line. It's going to be Craig Forsyth, though, getting the win over Matt Wagner. Yari going to bring it home third, Charles Teed in fourth. What a battle between the two of them. But, yeah, it was that pass towards the very end there. And then, like you said, with 2 to go, Matt had a great run. Couldn't clear him. But I think, like you said, he may have made that move 1 lap too soon because Craig saw it, learned from it, and I was able to make that adjustment to prevent it happening again. But great fight by those two. Jari Brupacher tried to find a way to get his name in the mix there as well for the win. Didn't quite pan out there. But, man, that was a really clean but really hard-fought race between those two.
I think, looking back on that lap where Matt and Craig switched spots there, I really think Craig just gave Matt a lot of pressure entering 3 in such a way that it kind of spooked Matt to look at the car ahead and then kind of forget where he was entering the corner. And you saw that Matt enter the corner just a little too tight, and all that he could do is just kind of lift.
Yes, I'm wondering, did Craig maybe get his field to perfection, because this thing hasn't cranked up for any big burnouts here. Let's hop and listen. I think this car might be off here, Andrew. I think he may have just ran just enough fuel.
Sounds like Craig might have just sputtered across the line or something.
Wow, we'll have to quiz him on that one as well. But what we do know is he still wound up winning that race. There was some great strategy, some great racing at the end. But before we get to those two, we got to get to this fella over here. That is going to be a Jari Brupacher. So we're going to grab Jari on in here, get his thoughts here, Andrew, on his 3rd place finish. Jari, you went the furthest of anybody by a lap on fuel. You were able to, you were hustling the exit. Andrew and I were watching. You were, probably just moments away from just losing that car, but able to keep it pointing in the right direction, which was critical because you got the draft, able to get right back up there and fight. But yet a couple times where you try to go the 3rd lane, you try to sneak underneath Craig. Was there anything else you could do to try to get those two off the top 2 spots there?
Yeah, I was definitely a bit on the edge there in the end, especially the last 10 laps. Like my tires were completely burned from following them. I'm not really sure I could have done anything differently. They were really going side by side all the time, and it's really difficult to make the move. The track is not really wide enough to go 3 wide, especially as the car gets a little loose coming out of the corner. So I was just hoping one of them would make a mistake and that could maybe sneak by. I think I almost got Craig once on the start finish line, but then he held on to it, and in the end I didn't have anything for them. I tried and tried, hoped to capitalize, but it didn't work. But it's third place, so that's good.
Did you ever find yourself going into a fuel save mode this race, or was the fuel strategy in such a way that you can just kind of run the race how you wanted to? Like basically, was fuel ever a factor here, or was it just trying to play around with different lines and see what kind of line worked out for you best?
It was basically me just doing the fuel save basically almost to the max on the first two stints because I thought pit entry is a bit treacherous, so we might see a caution. Therefore, I wanted to run long, and in the end, obviously, because of that, I had enough fuel. There was no fuel saving in the last stint, just flat out and try to catch the guys up front.
Nah, it was a really, like I said, it was really exciting there. There's a lot going on throughout the course of that race, Yari. But yeah, it was a lot of fun watching you making the moves, try to get what you could there on those two guys. But like I said, just got a little bit pinned unfortunately at the end. So, but again, a great run for you tonight, getting that podium. So definitely want to give you the floor for any thanks and shouts for that podium tonight.
Thanks to you guys. Thanks to everybody watching and everybody participating.
All right, sir. Well, we'll let you go. Say great job tonight, and looking forward to seeing you the rest of the season, man. Great job tonight.
Thank you, guys. Bye-bye. See you.
All right, so now we got to jump to our runner-up, and I think we've unfortunately had this happen to him recently, and he's not going to be a very happy interviewee, I don't think, Andrew, but we got to pull up that number 6 car of Matt Wagner. Got another runner-up. I'm sure, again, not what you're wanting to have for a result, but I mean, I don't think you could have asked for a harder but cleaner battle between you and Craig there those last 10, 15 laps.
Yeah, well, it was pretty good racing, and well, you guys want to talk about the end? So there was a lap car coming, and Greg was really forcing me down there, and I was ever so slightly putting more and more jacker into the car, and I was starting to slight lift it every once in a while. So, and all of a sudden, here comes the lap car. Then the lap car comes by, and then, yeah, I had the lift and the aero push, and I watched Craig say no bye, but it is what it is. Second place, first loser. It's all good, man.
Okay, my big question for you, Matt. No, I'm not going to talk about the end of the race with you. I wanted to know what your strategy was with these topping offs of fuel. Did you ever find that fuel was an issue, or did you just want to start towards the back of the pack on these restarts? Because on all the caution flag restarts, you made sure to come in, and especially the first stop where you jumped 6 spots because you didn't take tires, and then you came in and then went to the back of the field. So Gael and I thought that maybe you were trying to get the lead, and you didn't get the lead, so you fell to the back. And then on the second stop, you followed right back up again.
You hit the nail on the head.
Yeah, good.
You hit the nail on the head. So my plan was just to try and lead a lap there, just take fuel only and probably, cross the line and try and lead one lap. And I failed to do that. So I just went straight to the back and just watched things unfold. I know things were a little crazy up front. And then when it was time to go, it was time to go. And you saw.
What about that second yellow, the lap 44, 43, 44 yellow, where you also topped off with Yari you just want to start at the back again and come to the field, or did you have another
Nope.
bit of strategy there?
I kind of wanted to start it back. I just I was worried about a few things that I saw on the track that was just be a little bit more conservative. Conservative side, keep the car clean, and this being a really packy race, I said, well, yeah, just make my move whenever I feel like it's time, and it was time during that time. So I don't know. It's just play how I feel it. I just start in the back, just chill out. How things feel out. Do what I want to do, I guess.
Well, and then but the thing was though, obviously once Craig got by you, that wasn't it. That wasn't all she wrote. I mean, you had a hell of a run entering 3. You got a nose ahead of him there, coming to the line there to the white, and then then you had to try to regroup and try to do it one more time to get to the start finish line. And unfortunately, that one is that where
Didn't work
maybe
out. So
is that where maybe you showed your hand once a lap too soon, or I
too
mean, because
soon.
that was but it was like I said, you were on the bottom the whole time. So I mean, did you have time to really feel out what you could do on the top side prior to that?
All right, so midway toward the race, I figured out something up toward the top that I can actually work with in turn 1. Because I was trying to do it to Peterson. And it was actually working well with Peterson because he was lifting a little bit. So I don't know if he was more conserving fuel or um, maybe it's just a tight turn off of 4. That probably so. I'm not sure if his tires was, but he did mention to me after the race, he sputtered coming to the line. So maybe he was a little bit worried about fuel and he lifted a little bit. I don't know. Maybe so. Uh, I think I don't know if I would have timed that move a little bit or, a little bit later, but um, yeah, I was kind of hoping y'all would get around him then. It didn't work out, and I tried again. It worked a little bit, but not so as planned.
Wow, it was still a hell of a fight. Like I said, you did really really well. There was a lot of fun watching you guys go at it there. So again, I mean, I don't think you can ask much more on the racing side to fight that hard, but to also still race that clean. So hats
Yep.
off to you guys. And before we let you go, though, definitely want to give you the floor for any thanks and shouts for that runner up tonight.
Well, I just get a super speedway win. At least does that count?
Always.
I guess thank my boys at TWRS. Appreciate you guys wishing me happy birthday. Thank you all for the birthday wishes. Um,
Oh yeah, happy
other
belated birthday,
oh
Andrew. I
yeah,
don't know if you were aware.
it was yesterday.
Matt
43.
turned. Oh, I was gonna say you turned
43.
25, but okay.
Oh my
Wish.
God.
Oh my God. I wish I was
I
25.
don't even want you telling me I'm turning 25.
Okay.
It's just a big eye roll
Okay.
when my birthday comes.
Oh my God. Anyway, let's get on with it. TWS guys, James Watson on them. Thank you for the wishes. Guys, Area 51, the drivers all around here tonight. Appreciate everybody. And congratulations to Craig on a nice win. So, other than that, boys, Andrew, Gael, you guys do a great job.
Yes, happy birthday, Matt. Hope
Thank
you
you,
enjoyed it.
Thank you, Catalyst. And y'all take it easy and have a good night.
All right, that is our runner up there tonight, Matt Wagner in the number 6. So we got to get one more fellow to talk to, and that is this guy right here, Mr. Craig Forsyth. And so I guess question number 1, Craig, there's no burnouts there. How tight were you on fuel tonight?
I ran out crossing the line.
Well, I mean that's field question number 1. I do have a field question number 2. I did some really probably bad math at one point in the race where it was maybe in my mind an option to be able to one stop it if you could pull off. I think it was about 52 laps on fuel per stints there. Was there any point where you were trying to go off strategy for maybe cutting a pit stop out of this race?
Yeah, when we after this, when we were 100 laps or 102 laps to go, that one, I didn't understand because I knew that was makeable. 50 laps was makeable at that point, and a lot of the guys were driving like they weren't saving the fuel for it. So that confused me just because it was a makeable distance. I didn't think we were gonna go with the cautions occurring the way they were. I didn't think we'd get a full stint in, but I mean that.
No, do we lose you?
Hello?
There he is.
Okay, sorry. No, so that was the one where because I started the race on fuel save, of course, but that was the one where everyone else was going for it, and I was still in fuel save mode, just knowing that I could make 50 laps. And then we got the caution, and at that point, I had from that crash, I had damage on my right front that I didn't get repaired. So I was suffering. Once I lost the draft, I was starting to fall further and further back, and I was getting more and more worried. But I knew there was I couldn't pit in until I made the fuel number to the end. And I think both Charles and I pitted at the same time there. That was basically the second the window opened, I knew I needed to come in to get to use the fast repair to get the front right suspension fixed. And luckily came out close to Charles, so I was able to draft up and catch up to Matt.
Yeah, so it's interesting you talk about all this coming and going during the race. I was noticing during the first stint of the race you were really getting close to that outside wall turn 4. I want you to explain to everyone how tricky this track in particular is with how close that turn 4 wall comes up on you, because there were several drivers, not just you, during that first stint of the race that were really trying to feel out the track limits there, and it's pretty difficult to get through turn 3 and 4 without getting very close to that wall.
Oh yeah, four wants to throw you to the outside wall and spin you to the inside. So it's, I think we were just happy that it worked out for us, and there was the whole last run there with Matt on the bottom. That's basically what I was trying to force him to do, was keep him to the bottom lane every single lap, in hopes that I could either burn out his tires or send him to the inside. And then, as it was, Matt had that race locked down because he just wasn't wearing out his tires. But got lucky there, and we had the lapped car ahead. Plus Matt had to lift. I think it was his first instance of getting loose, and we were just on the upper line, so we were able to keep the foot in it the whole way, and powered past him.
So you pretty much filled out my second question there. I was trying to use that turn 4 situation to really say, hey, do I want to try and pin Matt so far down low that, yeah, he'll push up a little bit, but if I can do it in such a way that it'll spook him into it, if I lift, I can get the run down the front straightaway, which is what I almost seem to see happen during that situation where you got by him with 2 to go there. Well, yes, there was a little bit of a dirty air situation, I think, as well, which I think what you're going to say.
Yeah, no, and it was playing with fire. God, Matt and I side by side. I'm no one else. On the list of those 10 guys, I will do that for 50 laps without a second thought. Good driver that way. But we had those couple instances where we had a few little 0X's as squirreliness was starting to happen, and it's like I knew I was playing with fire and I didn't have a fast repair anymore. But it's like it's this or I settle for second.
So how? I'll fill that question with this one. How worried were you with Yari? Was Yari ever a problem to you, or did you think that the 3 wide whatsoever in turn 3 and 4 wouldn't work out and you'd be fine?
I was sure that he was setting himself up to basically do a double draft past us on the last 2 laps. That's when he settled back there. I think half a second or so, and was just sitting back there at that point. I was like, all right, he's getting ready to draft past us, and it ended up never happening. I don't know if the traffic played a part in that or what, but no, he was trying to do the outside, and you're not going to get by on the outside like that unless you can get that super, like the double car draft to just like so over throttle past the inside guys.
Right. Yep, I agree.
No, it was really exciting. A lot of fun watching you two duke it out there at the end. And then obviously it wasn't all said and done once you got to the lead. He had that big charge in 3, I think coming to the white, if I'm not mistaken. Was that something you were maybe expecting or not? And then did that happening then kind of like, okay, I need to make sure I do something different. They're coming to the checkers there down the back.
Well, I mean, he set that up the half a lap before that, right? And I think because he did that with the with one to go instead of coming to the checkers, if he'd waited one more lap, I mean, he probably would have had me. But because he did it the lap before, he couldn't reset to do it again before the next lap completed and the race was over.
Okay. So yeah, no, I mean, like I said, that was a lot of fun watching you two duke it out there at the end. And I mean, and the thing is, I mean, that's going to probably be you two are going to be two of the ones going after the championship right now. You, Matt, and Teeter are the top three. So, and you guys finished 1, 2, 4. So it was really exciting on our end as well. So, before we let you go and enjoy this one, Craig, though, definitely want to give you the floor here for any thanks and shouts for that win this evening.
I got to thank Jim over at 40 Raceway. Jim was unfortunately not able to come tonight. I know he wanted to race tonight, and he was unhappy that he couldn't. So, shout out to Jim at 40 Raceway for supporting the league and supporting the team. And I mean, Matt and everyone at Area 51. I mean, Matt does all our setups for us. He is the unsung. Well, he's not the unsung hero. We know he's the hero, but he gets all the setups tweaked up and nice. And I think you saw how good the setup was tonight. It put on a good show. So good on him for doing that. And you and Andrew doing the broadcast for us. We appreciate it and like it. And thanks for all the fans for watching and joining. I hope they had fun.
Great job, Craig. Go enjoy this one, and look forward to seeing you go after it again here in a week's time. So great job, man.
Thanks, guys. Stay safe.
All right, Andrew, that is our race winner. So that said, our job isn't done yet, because we haven't gone through our final results for tonight. Let's get those pulled up over here. And it will be Craig Forsyth, and it was only 0.03 of a second between Matt and Craig. They're at the line still, and it almost seemed like a big finish, or a big gap, just because of how tight they were that whole time. Yari Brubacher there, third. Charles T. Jeff Heisong, actually the only drivers finishing at the end on the lead lap. So it just shows as well how important that pit stop cycle was for those guys getting on and off of pit road. We mentioned Eric Peterson getting trapped a lap down under that pit cycle in 6th. Quabi Brooks 7th, Jim Brooks in 8th, and then Casey Pahutsky 9th, Iker Paghetto in 10th, and then Seth Groover, Gary Laverne, and Brandon Briggs. As they didn't start tonight, but Seth and Gary there rounding out the top 12 this evening. But that was a wild one. I say, honestly, it may have been a little safer with the 12 this evening, because I'd be terrified if there was a bigger pack. But next week, Andrew, I want to see a bigger pack, because we're at Michigan. We talk about pack racing. That's a 2-mile oval. That one should be a lot of fun.
Well, I feel like we'll see some of the likes of the Nick DeGroots and such back here. Looks like, it's summertime. I completely understand if people have other stuff going on. If there's good stuff happening during the week, it may be less likely that you'll find yourself turning on your computer to do some racing. But I thank these guys every week that come out and put on such a show. We sat here pre-race and said, man, I wish we had some more cars. But at the same time, last week at Milwaukee and then tonight at Charlotte, we had quite the show, really, all race long, and stuff to talk about during the whole thing. So hopefully we see some more cars in Michigan, because those big pack races could be quite wild. And I look forward to see what happens.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun to see. So, but yeah, as always, man, thank you so much for joining in with me. It makes it a lot of fun. Like I said, you've got the great insight that helps everybody else, I think, out as well. So that's it for us this evening. So thank you all so much for watching and supporting Green White Checkered TV and, of course, Area 51. We'll be back in 2 nights' time for the Xfinity Series, and it will be me in the booth one more time with Matt Wagner. We're throwing Boomer Logan back in the car for the house car, so enjoy keeping an eye on him, see what he can do. So yeah, Andrew, as always, man, thank you so much. It's a blast doing this with you, everybody that's watching and supporting. I don't have any raffle yacht ticket updates yet, so we'll see how that goes for you guys if you're wondering still. Yeah, YouTube chat got interesting tonight. But yeah, thank you guys so much. Really appreciate y'all. So as always, though, of course, stay safe, have a good night, and we'll see you on Thursday. Take care, everybody.